Okay, so today we're watching a video from Joey the Animeman. It's great. We're going to be reacting to the host club. We got this great little tidbit about this lady called Baby Girl Riri. I love this lady. She's the female Andrew Tate. Real scum behavior. Regardless, the Japanese host club is a system where patrons, men and women, will go to have conversations with people, and that's it. I think, I think I agree with the conclusion that Joey has at the end of this video. Quite frankly, I think there's a way to amend the current system, but I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. So I say, quite frankly, it's a wash. So please enjoy the review, and PBS is sponsored by people just like you. Okay, we watched that Chibi Reviews video. Give me a little taste of the old anime YouTubers. I forgot about Joey the Anime Man, who is now going by Joey Bazinga, right down here. Joey Bazinga is now talking about Japan just ended their host club industry. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Is the Oran High School host club done? Yes, it's been done for years. I think it actually started to take place in 2005. So, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to kiss, fall in love with those people. But you will be able to... they got other stuff going on in Japan. Have you ever been to Harajuku? That's the place. That's the place. If you want like a host plus, go to Harajuku. Okay, so let's see what Joey has to say. Joey is looking like an old man here. I absolutely love him. Okay, so maybe he will start by explaining what a host club is, because as I understand it, you go there and you pay for the women to hang out with you. It's like a stripper that I guess it's just like a stripper. Yeah, because like you're gonna be flexing on the stripper. You'll be like, oh, I do this, oh, I do that, and you're gonna be flexing on these host clubs. I guess these host club people are not getting naked. I don't know how naked they get. I've never heard any stories about naked. I heard stories about like a fat salary man laughing. Oh. Okay, let's go.
You know them? Maybe you love them? I don't know. But regardless, if you know anything about weird Japanese subcultures or have watched my channel for a while, then you'll know about what host clubs are. And if you don't know what host clubs are, they're essentially these clubs where men and women can walk in and for a fee, they can talk to a bunch of hot, quote-unquote, hosts, these guys who are there to basically keep you company and to drink together, exchange conversation, what have you. And I say it's been a pretty prominent part of the quote-unquote Japan's adult industry. You'll see it all the time if you go to places like Shinjuku or Shibuya. And if you've been on my channel before, this channel and my main channel, then you'll know that I've done interviews with, for example, Roland, who is one of the most rich and famous hosts out there. I highly recommend you check out this video that I did with him if you want to get a better context on the whole host club thing. But it seems like the meteoric...
That's interesting. When I saw Oran High School Host Club, I actually thought that it was just a kind of like a joke that the guys were the ones that people were using. Let's see, anything good here? No. Anyways, I thought it was just a joke that the guys were the ones who were the host, but I guess they're not. I wonder if this has anything to do with that whole 60% of Japanese women are single, 40% of Japanese men are single situation. That's interesting. I guess I don't really know what a host does. I guess I could have assumed wrong.
rise and prominence of the host club culture.
Sorry, Japan looks to crack down on host club exploitation with tighter
is coming to an end. It is the end of Japanese host clubs. With here an article from the Japan Times that says Japan looks to crack down on host club exploitation with tighter regulations. Now, this is actually not a new revelation. This is not a new update or anything like that. I was actually turned onto this news when...
I'm sorry for interrupting again. I wonder, like, how the right-wing Japanese new government led by Sinai is like advocating for this. I guess the angle that they would go for is like a traditional like nuclear family, as opposed to exploitation of
my
women.
wife recommended me this video by Asianalysis with Al and Helen called The End of Japan's Gigolo Industry Explained. First of all, I didn't know what the fuck gigolo is. I've never heard of that term before, but apparently it's a common term used to associate with host clubs. I've always just known it as host clubs, but either way, we're not going to be watching this video here on this video, but I highly recommend you to watch this video if you want full context on what is happening. I'll leave the...
I'm so sorry. What are they doing in these host clubs? I thought they were just like drinking. I thought it was like Yakuza. You know, Yakuza 0, you start off and you're in this giant like host club and you got the women beside you. Are they going all the way in the host club? Is it like a brothel of some sort?
Link down in the description below. But the TLDR of it is that Japan has recently gone through and made some pretty big regulation changes on how Japanese host clubs should operate in light of a number of serious allegations and, I guess, exploitation cases that have come out from the host club industry. Now, this article came out around March the 7th, for context. The government approved a bill Friday to tighten regulations on host clubs, aiming to curb abusive practices that force female patrons into prostitution to pay off excessive debts. The bill will now be submitted to Parliament, where it will be debated. The proposal comes as growing reports of such exploitation have drawn public outcry.
Bro, and this is such like a hard thing to talk about. Like, do we want to allow the women a chance to pay off their debt? Like, you can't pay off your debt working at McDonald's or whatever silly McDonald's name that they have going on in whatever anime they're living in. This, I can imagine that a hostess makes a hell of a lot of money. And I'm speaking completely out of my backside here. There's an argument for this whole hostess thing being a cultural milestone for the Japanese people. With the age of the geisha. I know you're thinking, geisha. I didn't know Sha was gay. No, we're talking about women who used to dress up, dance. It was a practice. It was a practice that they would do to like train young women. I guess in modern time, or sorry, I guess in North America, we would call it a... Damn, what would you call that? In North America, it would be a fancy school for young ladies to... Cotillion? Learn how to eat salad. How to be traditional. Let's see, does that work? Okay, this is called Modern Finishing School. Finishing School, yes. Etiquette School. Okay. In the UK, they're called finishing schools. I don't remember that name. Anyways, a finishing school is where like a lady would go to learn how to be a proper lady of middle America. You'd have like the big dresses, learning how to talk to men, learning how to curtsy, learning how to like eat with the right forks. They have like 7 different utensils. They'll have 2 spoons. They'll have 3 forks, and they'll have 2 knives. And it's like they're on different sides. They have to be mapped out. It looks straight up like a Yu-Gi-Oh map. Food. Is this finish? It's definitely not finishing school. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna kick myself for it. Anyways, so it's like a way of like preserving older Japanese culture, much like these finishing schools I'm trying to talk about. Regardless, um, I think there's an argument for it being a cultural thing. Okay. Well, let's get back into this. I'm sorry for the runoff.
In recent years, police received 2,776 consultations nationwide related to host clubs last year, with many of these cases involving women coerced into sex work to cover unpaid bills. The video I mentioned previously actually covers a anecdote of a girl who actually fell for this scam through host clubs that was eventually coerced into doing these like adult industry activities such as prostitution or working at girls.
Really? Okay, so this is like just a traditional sex trafficking operation. Okay.
Clubs and stuff like that to pay off for their debts that they were owed to pay to their hosts. And funnily enough, I actually covered this very story, or a very, very similar story, and a famous case over a year ago, talking about this sugar mama, sugar baby Riri. This girl right here who got sent to a 9-year prison term over a romance scam that was initially started off because she wanted to pay a stupid amount of money to a particular host that she was madly in love with. So if you want to get in context of that, I'll leave that.
Just curious sugar baby. Okay, what do you say about that again?
Very story, or a very, very similar story, and a famous case over a year ago, talking about this sugar mama, sugar baby Riri. This girl right here who got sent to a 9-year prison term over a romance scam that was initially started off because she wanted to pay a stupid amount of money to a particular host that she was madly in love.
Interesting. Okay. I just have to see this because I'm not under. It's not here. For a romance scam. Okay, so here we are. We got this. The Nagoya District Court on Monday imposed a 9-year prison term and an 8 million yen fine on a 25-year-old woman. Is she 25? Is she 25? Impossible to tell. Who went by the moniker Sugar Baby Riri for swindling 3 men out of 156 million. Wow. Through a romance scam and for selling a manual on how to commit such acts of fraud. Listen, I don't think that she sold anything, but she went around talking. Yeah, she went around talking to people about how to finesse the bag. I think that's what she explicitly said, finesse the bag. Oh, bro. Okay, so, sorry. Brittany Renner made headlines for her high-stakes, contentious child support battle with NBA player PJ Washington seeking $35,000 monthly for her son, citing the need to maintain a similar lifestyle to his $90 million contract. Following the intense public scrutiny and a viral argument, she eventually dropped the case in February 2026, choosing peace over money. I wonder how much money she got, because unfortunately, this guy was playing with fire, and because of that, he has a kid now. Whoa. She hit PJ?
Instagram model blasts the athletes she slept with.
The bubble. Okay.
Hey there, welcome to the Fumble here in Los Angeles. I'm Crystal Rich. Make sure you click the subscribe button below to join our notification squad and stay up to date on the latest sports news. And you can follow me on social media at Crystal Rich. Remember that old saying, I like a lady in the streets, but a freak in the sheets? Well, thanks to Instagram, those days are mostly over for some women. If having no filter on your mouth is your thing, or if trading likes for clothes, or lack thereof, you're in the right spot. Sadly. Instagram model Brittany Renner not only exposes all the men that she slept with at the young age of 26, but she said most of the athletes do not wear condoms. She then went on about how you can trap an athlete because they're all so dumb. Her words, not mine. Now, y'all may be cool with that type of openness, but I don't like it. Anytime you're talking about trainers and 8, quote, regular dudes.
I don't know why in like 2018 that's any of your fucking business or why it matters. But 24, 11 athletes, woo! 5 entertainers, woo! 8 regular guys, woo! I've only fucked 3 regular guys since I've been Instagram famous.
She didn't provide any receipts or names, but listen to her rant.
The worst people to deal with are the athletes. None of them use condoms really. So if y'all really want to try to come up off a check off a man, I mean, you could just fuck an athlete. They're really dumb.
Did you hear that evil laugh after? Girl, judge.
Girl, we ain't judging someone. She dropped the whole lawsuit with PJ Washington, I guess. She has to be getting some money for the baby. There's no way. We're not about that. Anyways, just like cotillion is the American pastime version of the geisha, in some odd way, you know, the woman being so subservient to the men. Finessing an athlete is the American version of swindling 3 men out of money in a romance scam. So let's see. And selling a manual. So I must have memorized it differently. I thought Brittany was saying it as like an ought statement, like you ought to go look. But she's like, you know what? If you're looking for a fool, some idiot to catch a quick bag with, get an athlete. They're dumb. So I'm sorry. The manual thing. The manual thing is, you know, this actually harkens more to like Andrew Tate. To be honest. That whoa. $30 a month? Why is it different like that? $30 a month, bro? That's crazy. The defendant, whose real name is Mai Watanabe, spent the money she obtained from the 3 men on a host who she fell in love with the aim of making him #1 in terms of sales at the club where he works in Tokyo's. Oh my god, okay, so. Oh my god, okay. So she robbed the men? Okay. She robbed these men to then give it to a host that she loved in order for the host to get, what? Like a bonus or something? Okay, let's see this. Let's just see. Sugar Baby Riri. Is there like a quick recap? Okay. So Joey did make a video. He said that.
The story of Mai Watanabe, aka Sugar Baby Riri, who scammed several men out of 155 million yen, which is about $1 million, and sold books on how to manipulate men into giving you lots of money. What's her story? Mai Watanabe was born in Nagoya, Japan. She grew up in a violent household and got bullied in school because she suffered from atopic dermatitis. And with such an unhappy childhood, she longed to be loved and needed. Now, when she was 20 years old, she worked at a cell phone store where her co-worker offered her a side gig at a club in Japan as a host. It was in this club that she would transform from a low-class worker to a high-class sugar baby. And I guess she did a great.
Oh, okay. So she worked at the same club or she at least worked in the same
job
industry.
because the host of the club offered her a job as a sales assistant. Her job was to help the host get more sales and become the top salesperson at the club, and it was there that a fire had been lit inside her. Finally, someone who needed her. She said working this job gave her purpose in her life, end quote. The goal of my host became my goal. I wanted to be the person who could be the most helpful to someone.
Good.
Mai Watanabe
That's
quit
nice.
her job and started working in fuzoku, which is a Japanese term for sex-related businesses. And she did that to make money for the host. She then discovered that she could get more money from this man by being a perfect picture of a damsel in distress. She would put on these sob stories that would make this man feel so bad for her.
But don't these men know? Like, aren't these like, these are like Johns. These are professional host building attendees. This Riri is probably not their first host girl that they've seen. Little wild, okay?
That they just gave her more money. And this went on for years until she was 22. She met another host in another club in the area and she was enchanted. His name was Hiroshi Tanaka and he was not like other men. She saw him and thought that this man would change her life. So she started working for him and she made money, millions, for this man and helped him rank up in the club. So after years of working this job, she was now a seasoned papakatsu master, and she figured that she could teach other women on how to do it too. She went ahead and wrote manuals on how to manipulate men into giving you money and sold it to her followers on social media. Textbook for sugar babies, the right profile and magical words to make men pay. That's the name of one of the books. These books went into great detail about the right way to approach vulnerable, middle-aged men and get as much money from them as possible. She taught readers on how to tell their sugar daddies sad stories like having a horrible childhood, bad health, that they couldn't pay their rent, stories that would gain sympathy from these men and open their pockets. For example, she told this 50-year-old man that she had to borrow money from an acquaintance to open her own apparel shop and she was going to have to sell her body at a brothel to pay them back. And this man felt so bad for her that he gave her 27 million yen, which is approximately more than $180,000. And another man, a 54-year-old man who claimed to have transferred a total of roughly 117 million yen, which is about $780,000. to Riri the sugar baby. I don't know for what reason, what story she came up with, but clearly, sugar baby Riri got game. She almost got $1 million from just 2 men. Can you imagine how much more she got? Watanabe started selling these manuals for prices between 10,000 yen to 20,000 yen, which is about $65 to $135.
If she made $1 million from 2 guys, just give the book away.
With private lessons available for an additional fee. And she managed to sell around 2,000 copies of her books before being arrested. Now, how did she get caught? Well, one of her customers, a 20-year-old woman, got arrested for defrauding a total of 10 million yen, which is about $72,000 from 2 men. When she was questioned, Watanabe and her books came up and she said that she followed the instructions of that book to get money from this man. So Watanabe was arrested, and when questioned, she admitted to the allegations, saying she knew that she was helping her customers commit fraud and that she was destroying people's lives, and that she once overdosed on prescription drugs to escape what she had become. Both her and Tanaka were arrested for fraudulent practices, and Mai Watanabe was sentenced to 9 years in prison and ordered to pay 8 million yen in fines. The court said that Watanabe's method of repeatedly defrauding the victims by making them fall in love with her was a cunning crime that took advantage of their goodwill, and that the consequences were serious because some of the victims almost lost all their assets. I mean, $700,000, that is a lot of money. Some people may ask, if you're exchanging money for sex, are you really the victim? You know what you're getting yourself into. But Mai was not simply selling sex. She was getting these lonely men emotionally attached, making them feel like they have something genuine going on, making them invest in her, huge investments. $700,000. And taking off with their assets. I mean, that's pretty cold.
Damn, Damn. Hey, that was a good video. Anyways, let's get back to this. Guilty by the crime of greed. I would say just
love
hit those
with.
two
So
guys, you know?
if you want to get in context of that, I'll leave that down in the description below.
That's
it's
a great
terrifying
story.
yet fascinating story. But either way,
Yeah.
yes, this is a very dark point of the host club industry, which unfortunately I couldn't really explore in my documentary with Roland. Obviously, I don't think someone like Roland is going to openly admit on camera to these kinds of things happening, but I don't think it's anyone's surprise that this kind of stuff was happening. The Japan adult industry, especially things like host clubs, hostess clubs, plans and stuff like that, are usually have this veil of darkness that surrounds them.
This whole idea of like pressuring someone, it's like Scientology stuff. Like you never hear of like this peer pressure that drags people into prostitution. I mean, I guess I don't, but I guess I might have a privileged life.
Let's just say that. And the fact that the police received so many consultations, over 2,000 consultations rather, just within the past year,
Okay, but like,
I think was a huge...
I'm very interested about coerced. Because, you know, there comes a point where you gotta to cover unpaid bills. I wonder who the bills are to. If the bills like to the electric company and they're working at freaking McDonald's, as I already said, hey, it is what it is. Let these girls hoe out. But if it's a situation where they owe the host club, that's a lot different.
Huge wake-up call for the Japanese police and the Japanese government to be like, all right, this is actually getting fucking ridiculous now. Like, come on, we need to step in. We need to do something about that because it's too much. It's too many. If passed during the current parliamentary session, the revised law would take effect 1 month after promulgation, with some provisions implemented later. The bill would ban hosts from emotionally manipulating customers into making excessive purchases, a common tactic in the industry. For example,
I thought they literally have like women there, again, and men, I guess, who don't even get paid. They get paid on tips. You get paid a portion of the upselling that they do. Just like the whole job, is it not?
and I'm glad the article is giving us an example here, the law would cover all too common scenarios in which hosts pressure patrons with lines like, if you don't buy me this champagne right now, I'll never talk to you again, which is a crazy fucking line to say to a customer, as well as clubs falsely advertising services at an affordable price, but later charging exorbitant fees or providing food and drink.
I heard this about Japan in particular. See, in North America, when you're dealing with the in-call, out-call type of people, apparently the prices are very clear. Maybe they don't tell you the tax. But as I understand, and I don't know if it's just host clubs, but what they'll do is they'll advertise a fee. We're going to be charging you 500 yen. No, let's do 50 yen. I'm so dumb. 5,000 yen. Come into a restaurant. It's a nomi hodai. It's a tabi hodai. All you can eat, all you can drink, blah, blah, blah. And then you get the bill, and you find out that that $50 was just an entrance fee. And then on top of that, there was a whole bunch of other charges. And that's how they kind of get you. I wonder if that's the bill that they're referring to here.
That the customers did not order and forcing them to pay. Violators of these types of offenses would face administrative penalties, including business suspensions or license revocations. The legislation would also outlaw tactics such as threatening or confusing customers into sex work to pay off unpaid tabs. If you don't know anything about the host clubs, if you haven't gone and checked out the 2 videos that I linked down in the description, then you'll probably be like, what the fuck? How are women falling for this shit? Now, any level-headed person will think to themselves that I'm not gonna fall for this kind of stuff. And
the problem is they get strong-armed, they get surrounded, right? So, I mean, listen, I won't take a hard pinch. I'd rather become a sex worker instead of taking a hard pinch for some money that someone scammed off me. So, I'm
sure a lot of the women who did fall for this kind of stuff probably thought that to themselves as well. But see, this is where the disgusting nature of these host clubs, at least some of these host clubs, come into play. The whole reason why host clubs, hostess clubs are even a thing in Japan, and something that you don't really see outside of East Asia, at least to my understanding anyway. If I'm wrong about that, you can let me know down in the comments. It's the idea that these host clubs, these hostess clubs, use this idea of teen loneliness, young people's loneliness, the feeling of prolonged loneliness that young people especially are experiencing, and older people as well, obviously, and fully exploiting that for their own financial profit, which, I don't know about you guys, is probably the worst thing you can do to another human being. Like, let's be real. That kind of emotional manipulation and exploitation, all for one's own gain, is just some of the most disgusting stuff that could...
Bro, if it was like some anime stuff, you know, I'm sitting there, I'm chilling, I got 2 hot hostesses right beside me, and one of them says, これはシャンペンですwhat would that be? It would be champagne はあなたが彼です。You will buy champagne. That is so wrong. That is so wrong. But anyways, she comes at me with that stuff. You know what I say? I really don't think I should be buying you any more champagne. And then she comes back with hanamashita. You know, a talking word. If she comes with me, I'll never talk to you again. I'll say, bye-bye. I'll just get another sex worker. Boom. What, I'm going to get pressured by a floozy? Come on. That's light work. That's like these people who go to strippers instead of hookers. Doesn't make sense. It's a little stupid, right? Especially if you're going to be even thinking about paying close to those prices. Anyways, I'm so sorry for yawning. This I'll never talk to you again is just so goofy. Like, what Joey is saying right now is he's saying that these people are preying on desperate people. Only a desperate person would accept a goofy cornball line like that. I'll never talk to you again. It's just go. Joey's right. I just don't know what it has to do with Asia, though. Cause you know what, like the phenomenon of like lonely Japanese people and lonely hikikomoris and blah blah blah, it's not just a East Asian phenomena. We have that here in North America.
Possibly happen, and unfortunately, it was happening a lot within these host clubs. So that is completely inexcusable. Obviously, it's not all host clubs, but judging from the fact that the government had to get involved with this kind of stuff, suffice it to say, it was probably a large majority of them that were doing this kind of shit. And, you know, these kinds of statements, after I interviewed Roland and stuff like that, I can definitely see that happening, and I've seen videos of it as well. I mean, this is no surprise that was happening. You would see situations where girls would come into the host club of a particular host who's maybe having a birthday or something, or really wants them to climb up the ladder of the host club with the most amount of money gained and stuff like that, because that is a metric that is measured and fully advertised out in the open for most of these host clubs, spending stupid amounts of money. We're not talking like hundreds of dollars, we're not talking thousands of dollars, we're talking tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars on a person who is just trying to alleviate your lonerism for a little bit. Isn't that insane? It's the fact that for the majority of the time, these hosts aren't like exchanging sexual favors with this patron. They're not even like...
Which is ridiculous. That should be the bare minimum. And listen, I know it's gross. Sex work is gross and blah, blah, blah. But if you're paying $1 million to someone and they're not at least having sex with you, get out of here. You're stupid. You're stupid. You kind of deserve to get hosed on that one, quite frankly speaking. And I hate that I'm getting so angry about this, but like... It's like it's almost free money. Like, when you make a deal with someone, usually there has to be this thing called consideration. One party gives something, the other party gives something. This lady is just straight selling. This isn't like a contract. She's not actually like disenfranchised in any way. She's straight up just coming in, using some words, and then getting the money. She should have to give something up, quite frankly. And same with the male host. If you're a male host and you're doing this to women, come on. Give them what they want, Sick of this. Sick of this grossness. That's why Japan's so screwed up. Not enough prostitution.
Being in a romantic relationship with these patrons. It's this whole brainwashing technique almost, this kind of emotional manipulation to make it so that this particular girl, this particular patron is changing the life of another person who wants to care for them and wants to be by their side. It is literally a scam in every sense of the word. An emotional scam, a romantic scam, a very elaborate scam as well to get someone to think that they are important to one person. Host clubs often collaborate with scouts in the sex industry and receive kickbacks from businesses like brothels and adult film studios for introducing women, a practice the bill seeks to ban. Violators of these scout backs could face up to 6 months in prison or fines up to $1 million or both. Now, this is something that
There's this beautiful speech in the movie Waiting 2. Now, there's no Ryan Reynolds in Waiting 2. There is Matthew Lillard is in Waiting 2, I believe. Not important. Did you know Matthew Lillard directed Twin Peaks Season 3? I can't get over that. He did such a phenomenal job. Anyways, so there's this scene where there is Bananigans or Bonanza or whatever this restaurant from number 1 was. And people work there, Matthew Lillard. But then Calvin is managing a new restaurant, I believe owned by the same parent company. I could get that wrong. Doesn't really matter. But I believe so, same parent company. Which is like Hooters. And what they have is they have this lady come in. I think she might be a adult actress. Let's see. No, it's not her. Anyways, they have this lady come in, and she has this speech. Well, I started working here 9 years ago at this Hooters. We're going to call it just Hooters. Then, my buddy got me into this job where I was just doing bartending. It was topless bartending, but that's all. And then I saw what some of the other girls were making by doing bottomless as well. So I started doing bottomless bartending. But I never let anyone touch me. I never let any of the customers touch me. Then I was seeing how much the girls were making, and all they had to do was just be with the guy for an hour. So I started doing that, and I keep telling myself that I won't go any further. I mean, how much further can I go? I don't know. I know I'm going to go further. Real beautiful speech about a woman who is letting her guard down, right? And, or not her guard, letting her barriers or boundaries down for the pursuit of money. And she has this sunk fallacy cause where I already did all this. What's an extra step? I'm not worth this. What's this? Blah, 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 right? Beautiful story. And what it sounds like, that story is being conveyed with some of these women who are in the host club. And it's like, well, you can make a lot more money doing pornography. You can make a lot more money, doing this, that, whatever. Very interesting stuff, quite frankly. Very interesting.
I wasn't aware of when it came to the idea of like the sex industry in Japan and stuff like that. I actually found out from, again, the previously mentioned video. I'm not surprised with this new piece of information that I have gained either. But I will say that this ban, or I guess the consequences of 6 months in prison or fines up to 1 million yen is, I don't know, it's a little bit lax in my opinion, especially the fines, because I have talked to some pretty high up hosts up there in the world, and they have told me how much money they make on a regular basis. And all I'm going to say is $1 million yen for them is like pocket change. It's not even a dent in some of these more successful hosts' wallets. So I legitimately don't know if a fine or even 6 months in prison is going to be something that will be enough to get these people to stop doing it. Because let's be real, whenever these kinds of legislations come into play, especially in the scouting business, especially in the sex industry, especially in the adult industry in Japan, there's always going to be loopholes. There's always going to be people sneaking money under the table, you know, making sure that certain vital information is going to be swept under the rug so that there is no evidence left. Like, they have found ways. The fact that they have found a way to even set up this scouting or scoutback system to begin with tells you that...
See, like, again, if the women want to be doing this, let them. That's the problem. I don't know what commitment these women have to doing it. You know, if I was a woman, I would quite frankly be like a whore. I would be sleeping for money. I would be doing this for money, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And I might be happy that there's such an easy transition to a quick buck, right? Like, what's porn do, right? Like, you shoot for a day or two, and you get $6,000, anywhere in between there, in the States, right? So, whatever. There might be some people who are interested in this, and You know what though? You can't even have the pathway open because these are run by like crime groups. I'm just reading here. It's like these crime groups are like definitely not just taking people who are interested. They're also forcing people to be interested. But you know, I think there's a discussion about how this could be good for some people.
There is always going to be a way that will be found, no matter what legislations are put on it, unless, of course, the consequences are a lot more extreme. Unless, of course, the consequences are a lot more longer than, say, 6 months in prison or a fine of 1 million yen. Penalties for operating host clubs without a license would also be significantly increased, with companies being forced to pay up to 300 million yen, a sharp rise from the current 2 million yen cap. Yeah, see, that kind of sharp rise, I think, is the better way to go. You know, there's a big difference between 2 million yen and 300 million yen, all right? So I think something like that where it's like, we're actually serious. If you don't follow this fucking legislation, you will see the consequences. And these aren't small consequences. These are massive, big bomboclat consequences of $300 million dues. The bill would also tighten licensing requirements, barring companies from operating or obtaining new permits if their parent or group entities had licenses revoked. Businesses under the de facto control of organized crime groups would also be ineligible for licenses. I mean, yeah, I think that's going to be a given, obviously. If a host club is operating under the watchful eye of a Yakuza group, then yeah, they're probably going to get some eyes from the police. Authorities have ramped up crackdowns on host clubs in recent years. Between January 2023 and June 2024, there were 83 arrests related to malicious host clubs, with 203 people apprehended. Hosts accounted for 90 of those arrests, while club managers and other staff made up 64. Cases involving women around 20 years old and hosts have skyrocketed since May 2023, when the COVID-19 restrictions were lifted. During the pandemic, many hosts turned to dating apps and social media to solicit customers while clubs were closed. When someone is broken, hosts slip into the cracks, adding that hosts often manipulate women psychologically, while scouts physically entrap and exploit them. If you've been to Japan before, if you've ever been to any major cities like Shinjuku or Shibuya, Harajuku, or even other ones outside of Tokyo, for instance, you will see these guys looking very shady, seeing maybe a group of young women walk past, and then catching up to them and being like, One-san, you're really pretty. Do you want to, like, make some money from your prettiness? Do you want to be a star? Which most of the time they will advertise it as, you know, oh, I'm a manager at a talent agency or an idol agency, you know, something a little more family friendly, if you will. And then turning around and being like, the moment you sign that paper, just kidding, you're going into the corn industry now. You are going into the adult industry. You're going into the soap lands, the hostess clubs, the stuff.
I wonder if Japan is like this, what would you call it? Some cartoon world. See, in North America, in Canada, and in America, it is absolutely illegal to enforce an illegal contract. So, if I said I will sell you my kidney for $100,000, I renege, right? Because you can't sell, it's illegal. You can't go into the court and then say they signed a contract that they would sell it to me. That's illegal. It's called, well, by Judge Judy, the doctrine of clean hands. You can't come in the court trying to get someone punished for a crime, or you can't get someone punished for something that they did wrong, even though that you had a hand in doing that wrong thing. It's like the classic example, the drug dealer calling the cops because their drugs were stolen, right? The drug dealer wouldn't have the ability to call the police because they were, of course, engaging in illegal activity. So, long story short, unless Japan is some silly, unless Japan's like an actual like horror anime, they could just not do it. Who's gonna stop them? They could still call the police. Unless these bodyguards are willing to kill the women should be doing what they can to get these bodyguards out of here.
Stuff that might not be a little as kosher as you thought it might have been. And it's the fact that these motherfuckers are doing it out in the public. Like, literally out in the public. And in places like Shinjuku, for instance, if you go through to, like, say, the Toyoko area, near the giant Godzilla statue in front of the cinemas right there, you will literally see signs, both printed in Japanese and English. And I think as of recently, if my memory serves me correctly, you'll even hear, like, over-the-speaker announcements of the Shinjuku government saying, like, hey, if you see anyone doing scouting work, that shit is actually illegal, and please don't do that shit, and please don't fall for that shit. And even then, we've gotten to this point in Japanese society where they're doing it anyway, and women are falling for it anyway. So there is clearly some kind of deep-rooted psychological phenomenon that is happening in Japanese society with young women and young men that are leading them to do this kind of shit.
Yeah, it's called the internet. Okay, so I'm just looking here. General rule, this is on ChatGPT, of course. Civil Code Article 90, invalidity of immoral or illegal actions. A judicial act, including a contract that violates public order or good morals, is void. So these women can't run away. Now, I understand that they can't actually run away because they're already in the process of being trafficked, and I guess that really screws up with your mind and makes it hard for you to think about the right way to get out. But quite frankly, they could just walk away.
Shit. Women counseling and support centers across the country received 415 consultations about hosts from December 2023 through last year, according to the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare. Tanaka stated that although he welcomes the bill as a step towards curbing exploitative practices, some clubs may switch business models to bars while maintaining predatory tactics, creating a potential game of cat and mouse. And yeah, I'm actually completely agreeing with this last point here. As I mentioned earlier, they've found a way to slip through the cracks, both psychologically and under the book of the law, to do these kinds of malicious acts, and they're probably just going to keep doing it. They're always going to find a new way to get around the loophole. But what's interesting is that since this article came out, it seems like the bill has actually passed, and now if you go to places like Shinjuku, if you go to places like Shibuya, where there is an massive abundance of these host clubs, you'll actually start to see that a lot of the big flashy signs that were once littered with, oh, #1 host, oh, this host is, the #1 in Kabukicho, or has made X amount of money, or, is the hottest guy in all of the Japanese lands, or whatever. Usually these like over-conflated and sometimes just straight up lies in their marketing have now actually been covered with massive pieces of tape and blacked out and censored like a bad doujin, which I guess is like an admission.
That's hilarious. So they just put black tape on to cover it like a doujin It would be like covering up the naked parts of a body. Okay, I get it.
By these host clubs that, yeah, maybe they were doing some like malicious tactics to make that money that they were so grandiosely marketing towards the public that walked past these host clubs. But at the same time, I just don't know if this is going to like completely stop these malicious acts from happening. As the article mentioned at the end there, I think they're always going to find a way to get around these loopholes. And until there are harsher consequences for this stuff, and I guess some kind of solution for the more deep-rooted psychological issues that a lot of these young women in Japan are facing through loneliness and whatnot, I don't think this thing is ever going to stop. This problem is not going to end. So yeah, that's about it. I just wanted to talk about that.
I don't know. I'm so split. I'm so split because, you know, I support sex work, you know. I believe that sex work is...
Let me know your thoughts and opinions about it down in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to smack my face right here. Subscribe to the...
Anyways, so the issue here is that, like, there probably should be some sort of outlet for sex work. But again, when it comes to sex work, it's always exploitative because it's not in the purview of the government. And I know, blah, 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 it's cringe to say it, but there's absolutely no rules. It's the biggest, strongest person who makes the rules, right? Whoever can take more girls, whoever can sell more girls, whoever can manipulate more girls. So, I mean, I don't like that aspect. Is there a better way? Like, is there a need that we're not thinking of? Okay, let's see. These are some hostesses. This is a white
So you've
lady.
probably heard of hostess bars in Japan, but do you actually know what they are? A hostess bar isn't a strip club, it's not a brothel, and it's not about flirting for tips. So, what is it? It's a high-end nightlife experience where men pay to drink and talk with professionally trained conversationalists called hostesses. Hostesses don't just pour drinks. They manage the vibe, guide the conversation, read the room, and make every guest feel important, no matter who they are.
See, like, I think, you know, I think there's people who would be interested in this, right? I think there's people who would be interested to have, like, their ego inflated or maybe talk to a girl who's a little out of their league. Look at this guy.
Customers often return weekly or monthly, and some even become regulars for 30 years. Personally, I welcome a lot of international clients at my hostess bar, and honestly, they love it. Most of them walk in curious and leave saying, "I've never experienced anything like this before." So you've probably heard of hostess bars in...
I mean, I could definitely see them pressuring. There's absolutely no shot.
Today, I decided to check out Japan's most famous host clubs. For those who don't know, host clubs are places where guys entertain women for money. Let's see what all the hype is about and how much they can get me to spend. When you walk in, they hand you a menu, but instead of food, you are picking guys from some seriously catfish photos. Here is their trick. They don't bring out the main course right away. They start you off with appetizers, usually the guys with the lowest sales who come over with small talk and charm to warm you up before the main course arrives.
Who's the most good-looking guy in the club?
You? Are you fucking kidding me? Come on, let's be serious. Alright, besides you, who's the most handsome? I wanna know what about you attracts customers the most. Honestly, I'm not sure where his confidence comes from, but I was really impressed by his dedication. So I decided to open 3 bottles of champagne for him to show my support. So my total expense for today was $5,000.
Bro, who's going to these places? Bro, who is going to these places? Oh my god. Okay, let's see. That's so much money. Okay, well, I think we have a pretty good idea. Here's a picture of the cotillion thing I was talking about. They do with boys too. This This is kind of like reviving the antebellum era of class and sophistication. It's all gaudy. It's all gaudy. It's peasants who dressed up nicer than other peasants. Disgusting. Disgusting. Anyways, so I'm coming back to this idea. Where should Japan go here? Should Japan allow these clubs, but have them operated and have them audited more often? Or should they abolish them? I'm so sorry for the yawn. There's a market here. And, you know, I don't know too much about Japan, but what I hear about Japan, incredibly lonely place, incredibly inhospitable to the idea of the family, with people working such long hours. The government actually had to roll back on hours legally. They had their own, what, Henry Ford? Was it Henry Ford who made the 8-hour workday? Anyways, so their priorities are all screwed up. You know, I don't want to say like anything about capitalism, but talk about like the capitalism chair sitters. They are all about ruining their own lives, right? And then on top of that, you have the racism too. So what is there to do, right? If they're not going to have immigrants come in, if they're not having kids, they're not having relationships, what are they supposed to do? I say go to a host club. I mean, I say get something better than a host club. Quite frankly, I think the whole racket is exactly that. I think it's a prime victim of a RICO charge. That last TikTok that we watched, or a YouTube short, $5,000 for the night. Absolutely disgusting. Absolute piggish, greedy business. I hate it. It's so icky. That being said, if I go to Japan, I am for sure going to a host club. Thank you for watching. Like and